Good morning. Happy Sunday. I'm Greg. Welcome to the Daily Bible Wrap-Up. It is Sunday, July 30th, 2023. Our readings today, Psalm 89. We continue with 38 through 45, Romans 13, and 1 Chronicles 7 through 9, 1. So we'll go ahead and jump right in and get started. Psalm 89, 38 through 45 is continuing in Psalm 89. It's discussing rejecting, quote, your anointed king. You know, the last verse of today's reading, which is verse 45, ends with, quote, you have made him old before his time and publicly disgraced him. This spoke to me as a mirror of today's society towards Christ. Quote, you have made him old before his time, end quote. That kind of relates to arguments that religion is dead, faith is dead, conquered by science, and it's time to put away those old mythologies. Quote, publicly disgraced him brought up images of mocking Jesus' crucifixion recently at a gathering in California. Both talk about pushing God away, and both are dangerous. Be careful not to succumb to groupthink. Science, in my opinion, is not a counter to faith. Rather, it strengthens faith. I've said beforehand, you look all around you, you see the science of creation. It's just made that tree right behind me outside my window, the little mountain in the background. All speaks to God's wondrous creation. And mockery of anyone's beliefs is sometimes routed in insecurity and fear. And in any case, it's wrong. I won't mock non-believers, nor will I mock those deceived by science, in quotes. I will, however, pray for them that they have their eyes open and ears to hear the truth. Have an open heart for the truth. Romans 13 is where we are in the New Testament. We're continuing in the middle of Romans. This section is also often referenced with regards to government. Quote, everyone must submit to governing authorities, end quote. And then another quote, anyone who rebels against authority is rebelling against what God has instituted and will be punished. Now, remember context here, where Paul is coming from. He has submitted to authorities and dealt with punishment across a continent. We're to submit not only to avoid the punishment of disobeying, but to keep our conscience clear. I mean, for Paul, there's two punishments here. I just want to be clear about. Paul suffered punishment. He was obeying, but he was still punished by a corrupt government or governments, maybe not fair, and yet he endured that suffering. But if we don't follow government rules, we will be punished as well. Go speeding, and you'll get a speeding ticket, and you might end up paying some money for that. Not that that's happened to me anytime recently. Maybe it did a few months ago. I won't say anything. Now, this applies to paying taxes as well. We're to owe nothing to anyone except for our obligation to love one another. That's really the prime directive here. Paul emphasizes that, quote, the day of salvation will soon be here. We are to remove our dark deeds as if they were dirty clothes. Just take them off. They dirty us. And then to put on the shining armor of right living. Now, I can say that ever since being intentional about this direction, my life has been much better, much more fulfilling. I try to be cleaner in my living. And I think that sometimes as you walk down that path of defining cleaner, you realize areas that you can do better in, and there's more that you would never have thought about before. But each time that I make a change, I feel better because I'm closer to God. I'm convinced that's the reason why I feel better. Old Testament, we are picking it up in 1 Chronicles 7, which begins with a listing of the descendants of Issachar. The total number of mighty warriors from the clans of the tribe of Issachar was 87,000. One attribute in the Old Testament I've become more aware of is the presence and need to mention census information, particularly army strengths. Perhaps this was partially to dissuade others from attacking, but of course that would assume that these writings were for others besides the Hebrews, and at the time of the writing, I don't believe that was correct. Thus, that train of thought has come to a dead end on the tracks. Then the descendants of Benjamin are listed, then descendants of Naphtali, then Manasseh, then Ephraim, then Asher. Then we continue in 1 Chronicles 8, going back to Benjamin. Wait a moment. Didn't we just talk about Benjamin? Last chapter listed descendants from 3 of Benjamin's sons, Bela, Becher, and Jediel. But here, Benjamin's sons in birth order are Bela, Ashbel, Ahara, Noha, and Rapha. Now, unless Becher and Jediel were born after Rapha, this could be a lineage from a different Benjamin, I guess, I suppose. But if not, if it's the same, which I'm believing it is with the context of what we're reading, there's a discontinuity here. So, because you have children that are listed 1 Chronicles 7 that for Benjamin that are not listed in 1 Chronicles 8. What's up with that? I'm going to go with the idea that not all of the children are listed in 1 Chronicles 8. That just would seem to be the most pragmatic, easiest explanation for this. Well, we leave this lineage to look at Saul's family, beginning with Jael, which, with no indication of Jael's ancestors, let me just double check that. Yes, that is not the same as Jedidiel. Names can be a little bit tongue-twisting. I'm guessing that since we're looking at Benjamin's ancestors, that he was a part of that tribe. That would seem to make sense. He was the great-grandfather of Saul. Then Saul's lineage is listed, going through. Won't read it here. And last line of the chapter, what do you know? It is, quote, all these were descendants of Benjamin. And then 1 Chronicles 9:1, to end today's reading, simply states all the genealogical records were listed in the book of the kings of Israel, and that the people of Judah were exiled to Babylon because they were unfaithful to the Lord. So to me, Chronicles, at least thus far, seems to be more history-focused than storytelling or lesson-giving. That's it for today. We'll catch you again tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day and that you walk by the Spirit today. Take care.